Warriors fans, stop scrolling because what Shams Charania reported on ESPN tonight is going to send a shockwave through the Bay Area, and I need to break it down for you before it gets twisted into something it is not. Shams did not float a rumor. He did not say teams are kicking the tires. He told the country that he had received information, a leaked tip from a source he trusts completely, and that he had been sitting on it all day trying to confirm it before he said it out loud. Then he confirmed it on live television. The Golden State Warriors and Kyrie Irving have become a real conversation, and the framework of a path that lands Kyrie in a Warriors uniform is being explored behind closed doors. When Shams Charania puts his name on a leaked tip like that, you do not wave it off. You lean in. Hey, what's up everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly, the biggest way to support this content. Every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. Let me walk you through exactly how it unfolded, because the way Shams handled it tells you everything about how seriously he takes it. The panel was deep in the weeds on Golden State's brutal summer, all the age, all the money, all the questions, when Shams interrupted and said he had something he needed to share carefully. He said a tip had come his way earlier in the day from inside the kind of source he does not second guess, and that the tip pointed at a connection between the Warriors and Kyrie Irving that was further along than anyone realized. Shams said he debated whether to report it, weighed it, and decided it was too significant to hold. Then he laid it out for the country and put his credibility on the line. He told everyone watching that he believes a Kyrie Irving to Golden State scenario is live and worth taking seriously. That is the most plugged-in reporter in the sport betting his name on a leaked tip. He does not do that for noise. Now I can already hear the skeptics, so let me cut them off at the pass. They will say Kyrie just signed a 3-year deal in Dallas, that he is under contract, that this cannot happen. And here is what those people miss about how this league really operates. A leaked tip from inside the machine is one of the truest signals there is, because that information does not escape by accident. When a connection like this leaks, it means conversations are happening that the public was not supposed to know about yet. The contract does not stop a trade. It just sets the terms of one, and the fact that this leaked at all tells you the wheels are already turning somewhere most of us cannot see. So let me explain why this makes so much sense for Golden State, because the basketball case here is urgent, and it starts with how painful this past season was. The Warriors finished 37-45. They did not make the real playoffs. They beat the Clippers in the play-in, then the Suns ended their year 111-96, and that was the season. A roster built to chase a title drifted into another offseason drowning in questions, and the reason it collapsed is the reason this leaked tip matters so much, because the entire thing went sideways the moment Jimmy Butler tore his right ACL in January. Before that injury, this was a top 5 defense and a real threat. After it, the bottom fell out. So now Golden State walks into the summer with a championship brain in Stephen Curry, a Hall of Fame engine in Draymond Green, and a roster that simply does not have enough shot creation to survive 4 playoff rounds. Let the ages sink in because they explain the desperation. Stephen Curry will be 38 next season. Draymond Green is 36 and holds a player option. Al Horford is 40. Jimmy Butler is coming back from a torn ACL. This is a team running out of summers, and the clock on Curry's career is the loudest clock in the entire NBA. The front office with Mike Dunleavy running it has spent years chasing a third star to put next to Curry and Green, swinging at every big name imaginable, and now a leaked tip points them at one of the most gifted shot creators who has ever lived, a man who can manufacture a bucket out of absolutely nothing when the offense stalls. Picture Kyrie Irving in this exact backcourt because it is genuinely frightening. Stephen Curry creates more gravity than any player in history, bending defenses with nothing but his movement off the ball. And for years, the Warriors have lacked a partner who can run the offense and create his own shot when Curry is being chased off the line. Imagine handing those keys to Kyrie Irving. Two of the greatest ball handlers and shot makers the sport has ever produced, sharing a backcourt, taking turns torturing defenses. When Curry is flying off screens, Kyrie runs the show. When the defense overloads on Curry, Kyrie isolates and cooks. When the game slows down in the playoffs and you need a bucket against a set defense, you have not one but two of the best closers alive. That is not a fit. That is a nightmare for every defensive coordinator in the league. But I told you I would respect your basketball brain, so let me show you how the trade actually gets built, because a leaked tip is only the beginning and the math has to work. And this is where it gets real, because the Warriors have exactly the kind of assets Dallas would want. The centerpiece is Jonathan Kuminga, young, athletic, full of upside, the kind of developmental swing a team rebuilding around a teenager would covet. You build the framework around Kuminga, you add the salary filler the Warriors have on the books to match a contract Kyrie's size, around $40 million next season, and you attach the draft capital Golden State can finally move. And here is the part that makes it realistic. Because Kyrie is 34 and coming off a torn ACL, his trade value is depressed right now. Dallas would not be commanding a king's ransom. A package of young talent and picks could genuinely get it done, which is exactly why a win-now team like Golden State, desperate for shot creation, would pounce. The price will never be lower than it is right now, with Kyrie's value sitting at the bottom of the dip while he recovers. Smart front offices buy at the bottom. Now the hard part, and I am not going to hide from it because you deserve the truth: the age. Adding a 34-year-old guard coming off an ACL tear to a core that already features Curry at 38, Green at 36, and Horford at 40 is, on paper, the oldest gamble in the league. If everyone breaks down at once, the season ends in February. I will not insult you by pretending that concern is small, but here is the counter-argument, and it is stronger than it looks. First, Kyrie is not being asked to be the every-night workhorse. He would be a shot-creating co-star, and his game has never been built on athleticism the way some guards' games are. It is built on skill, on handle, on touch, on footwork, things that age far more gracefully than a first step. A 34-year-old Kyrie with a year of rest on fresh legs may be exactly the kind of player who ages well into his late 30s. And second, the entire Warriors season was destroyed by a single injury to Jimmy Butler, which proved the roster has no margin and no scoring insurance. Adding another elite shot creator is not reckless. It is the only way to build a roster that can survive when, not if, someone gets hurt. You do not protect an old team by staying thin. You protect it by adding talent that can carry the load when the inevitable happens. Let me bring Steve Kerr into this, because his situation confirms the plan. There was real doubt about Kerr's future after the season, but the Warriors re-signed him to a new 2-year deal. They did not blow it up. They did not let their championship coach walk. They committed to squeezing every drop out of whatever is left of the Curry era. And if you are committed to that, you do it by adding a creator who can take the offensive burden off a 38-year-old's shoulders. Kerr's system, all that motion and movement and misdirection, would give Kyrie a different kind of life than he has ever had. A constant supply of advantages created by the most gravitational shooter ever. Kyrie has spent most of his career as the man defenses build their game plan around. In Golden State, he would feast on the attention Curry draws every single possession. Kerr would have the time of his life designing that offense. Here is the part I really need you to sit with, because it is the heart of why this leaked. The reason Dallas would even consider moving Kyrie comes down to timelines, and that tension is the quiet engine under this whole story. The Mavericks are building their future around Cooper Flagg, a 19-year-old cornerstone who needs years to grow. Kyrie Irving is 34 on a win-now clock, coming off a major injury. Those two calendars do not line up. A teenager's development arc and a veteran's championship window are pulling the franchise in opposite directions, and that kind of mismatch does not fix itself. Dallas knows it, and that is why a leaked tip pointing Kyrie toward a contender is so believable. It is not drama for drama's sake. It is two franchises quietly recognizing that their needs might solve each other's problems, and somebody on the inside let it slip. I want to be completely fair, because the skeptics have real points and you deserve them answered. The fit is not flawless. A backcourt of Curry and Kyrie is small, and the defensive questions are real, which is why the length of Butler and the size of Horford or another big would matter even more around them. There is the brutal money reality, because a roster this expensive taking on a $40 million contract pushes Golden State into the most punishing tax territory in the sport. And there is the simple fact that you would be stacking another aging body onto an already old core. These are not small concerns, but every one of them is solvable for a front office that decides the prize is worth it. And two of the greatest shot makers in history sharing a backcourt for one last run at glory is exactly the kind of prize that makes a front office decide. You build the defense around them, you accept the tax bill as the cost of contention, and you trust that elite skill finds a way. It always does. And look at the Western Conference, because Golden State cannot afford to stand still. The Thunder just proved they are the team to beat, young and deep and relentless. The conference is an arms race, and a 37-45 team does not climb back into contention by running it back with the same aging group. The only path back to relevance for the Warriors is a bold, franchise-altering swing, and there are only a few players on the entire board who clear that bar. A healthy Kyrie Irving, available at a discount because of the injury timing, is one of the most talented of all of them. When the only path forward and the player a leaked tip just connected you to happen to be the same answer, you do not overthink it, you move. Let me dig even deeper into the basketball, because there is a specific problem that has haunted Golden State in recent years, and Kyrie Irving is one of the only players alive who directly solves it. When teams blitz Stephen Curry, when they trap him 40 feet from the rim and force the ball out of his hands, the Warriors have too often been left with role players trying to create in a 4-on-3 scramble. That is where their offense has gone to die in the biggest moments. Now picture Kyrie as the man receiving the ball in those exact situations. Instead of a hesitant role player, it is one of the greatest one-on-one scorers in history attacking a tilted defense. The trap on Curry stops being a weakness and becomes a trigger, because giving the ball up no longer means giving up the possession. It means handing it to a closer. That single dynamic changes the entire math of how teams can guard the Warriors, and it is the kind of structural fix that wins a coaching staff over before they even watch a highlight. And think hard about what this does for Curry's body, because that matters more than anything at 38. Right now, the Warriors ask Curry to be the engine on almost every meaningful possession, to run miles a night, to carry an offensive burden that would break a player 10 years younger. That is not sustainable for a full season and 4 playoff rounds at his age. Adding Kyrie Irving means Curry can finally share that load with another elite initiator. Some nights Curry can play off the ball, let Kyrie create, conserve his legs for the moments that decide games. You are not just adding a scorer, you are extending the prime of the most important player in franchise history by giving him a partner who can carry the offense when he needs to rest. For a team racing against Curry's clock, that is the most valuable thing a trade could possibly deliver. There is also the matter of the younger core, because this would not only be about the old guard. Brandon Podziemski is a promising young guard with real feel and toughness, and a player like that grows fastest next to elite creators who command constant attention. Surround Kyrie and Curry with Podziemski's energy and Butler's two-way shot making, and you start to see a genuine offensive ecosystem rather than a top-heavy roster running on fumes. You would be blending the last great years of a dynasty with real shot creation insurance, and you would be doing it at a moment when the alternative is drifting into irrelevance. The Warriors have spent years searching for the right third star. A leaked tip just told them that one of the most skilled creators in the sport might be available at the lowest price he will ever carry. That is the kind of window that does not stay open long. One more thing the skeptics overlook, and it might be the most important of all. Playoff basketball is won in the final 3 minutes of close games, on tired legs, against locked-in defenses, when the offense has no easy answers left. That is sacred ground for Kyrie Irving. This is a man who hit one of the most iconic shots in NBA Finals history, a closer whose handle and footwork in crunch time border on unfair. The Warriors, for all their brilliance, have too often watched their offense seize up in those exact moments when Curry is swarmed and there is no second option to bail them out. Pair Curry's gravity with Kyrie's closing ability, and suddenly Golden State has 2 players who want the ball when the building is shaking, 2 players a defense cannot possibly both contain. That is the kind of late game insurance that decides championships, and it is precisely what this roster has been missing since the day Klay Thompson's prime began to fade. So where does that leave us tonight, Dub Nation? It leaves us somewhere I did not expect when this season ended in heartbreak. A leaked tip, reported by the most plugged-in voice in the sport, connects the Warriors to one of the most skilled shot creators who has ever lived. The trade pieces exist, with Kuminga as the centerpiece Dallas would want, and the price is depressed by the injury timing. The basketball fit answers the exact weakness that has haunted this team for years. The coach is re-signed and committed to one more run, and the clock on Curry's career has never ticked louder. Every thread points to the same place, and when that many threads line up around a tip that was not supposed to get out, you stop calling it a rumor and you start calling it a plan. I have watched this league long enough to know the difference between a story that fades and a story that builds, and this one is building. The way Shams delivered it, the care he took, the fact that he chose to risk being wrong on live television because the tip was too significant to bury, tells me this is real and this is moving fast. So I need to hear from you. Drop it in the comments right now. Would you trade Jonathan Kuminga and the picks to put Kyrie Irving next to Stephen Curry for one last title run? Would you take the age and the injury risk for the upside of two of the greatest shot makers ever in the same backcourt? Or do you protect the young assets and let the moment pass? Tell me, because I read every single comment and I want to know where Dub Nation stands before the next domino falls.